All right, I think we can get started. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is our first ever webinar from 1 Billion Agency. Currently celebrating our 1 year anniversary. I want to welcome everybody again. If there are any technical glitches, I'm a newbie, so be kind. Before we jump in, again, uh, this is a topic of conversation that we're very passionate about as an agency. These three common and commonly destructive marketing misconceptions. And we're going to explore some strategies that you can use to combat these misconceptions. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. I clocked this earlier. This is going to be relatively quick. I talk fast and present fast, and we wanted to make this as punchy as possible and as insightful as possible while you share some of your lunchtime with us today. As I get started, just a brief introduction to the 1 Billion Agency. As I said, we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary. At our core, we are a market effectiveness agency. Our team has decades of global experience building and leading billion-dollar brands. And we're taking that billion-dollar brand playbook and applying that to brands of all sizes now. I'm Chuck Heckman. I lead up our brand and technology practice. Then my partner, Will Partner. Parker is focused on media and analytics, quite an expert in MMMs, probabilistic measurement, and things like that. And then also Jason Billiquette, who heads up our digital platforms and experience practice here at the agency. A little bit about what we do before I get into the content. We focus on four key pillars in our solution set across strategy, creative, and media. We typically engage with clients in a consulting basis. We can do end-to-end engagements for brands through a network of vetted partners that we've built over the course of the year. But we typically work with either internal teams or external agencies to make the work that they bring to their brands more effective. Our mission is quite simple. We want to help brands gain new customers, increase their market share by focusing teams and activations on marketing effectiveness. And we're going to talk about some of those key principles today. So let's get into it. Commercial over. Today, we're going to talk about three common and destructive marketing misconceptions. I want to just ground everybody in the fact that, marketing effectiveness and the principles that make up the practice are really grounded in science and rigorous research. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with how brands grow and long and short of it. Those are key, I guess, the Old and New Testament when it comes to marketing effectiveness, but also the work that is continued to be done by the Aaron Gerbas Institute, the IPA over in the UK, WARC, who makes amazing content on effectiveness on a constant basis, and System One. We really leverage a lot of the research that these groups are doing to help our clients grow customers. Jumping into marketing misconception number one, that you can boost profits by 95% by retaining just 5% of customers. This one has been peddled for quite a few years and has been debunked multiple times, but I'm still seeing so much content in LinkedIn posts and things like that, keeping to push this misconception forward. The fact is that winning brands focus on gaining new customers. It's new customers that drive market expansion and profitability for brands. Because if you want to grow, you need to start with a foundation of customer acquisition strategies. That doesn't mean that you leave retention and loyalty to the side. You can definitely add those to the mix, but most of your spend from a marketing allocation perspective should be spent on acquiring new customers. Um, and why is that? It's that, Aaron Grobass Institute has proved that customer acquisition correlates most heavily to market share. Even the best retention strategies still have churn. You're still going to lose customers no matter how good your retention loyalty programs are. So you can only grow share if you're gaining new customers. Misconception number two, focusing on features and benefits in creative and messages to drive conversion. Now, I know that our friends at Meta and Google have gotten everybody in the space quite addicted to the certainty of conversion-based media. Um, it definitely has a role to play, but people buy from attention-grabbing brands. And how do you grab attention? You need distinct and emotive messages that drive recall and brand awareness. And I think even in the 60s, Howard Gossage said this best. This is my favorite marketing quote. Nobody reads advertising, they read what interests them, and sometimes that's an ad. That still holds true today. And it's fascinating that we still have this conversation about performance versus brand. It's all about it grabbing attention and holding attention because only through grabbing and holding attention are you actually going to be able to increase the amount of times that your brand comes to mind when somebody falls into the category. System one has proved this, that campaigns that drive positive emotions drive 6 times brand lift and 20% more ad recall. And that can be the difference between just annoying somebody with an ad in their feed or on the bus stop or something like that, and actually forming a memory structure that helps you build long-term brand resonance and favorability that is most correlated to sales lift. And finally, marketing misconception number three, the right customer, the right place at the right time. This one has always, as a brand person, this one has always driven me a little bit nuts because it sounds logical, but it's actually limiting your brand's growth potential. Because the more people you talk to, the more your brand grows. And, how do you talk to more people? You have to focus your media strategies on smart incremental reach, looking at new channels, probably deduping your audiences, and making sure that you're just talking to more and more people. It's hard to understand when somebody falls in and out of a category. A lot of times people, especially in the B2B world where I come from, say, well, I know who my, ideal customer is. You can't really understand when somebody enters and exits your category. So it's best to talk to as many people as possible so they can self-select and come in for your messages. So again, a smart incremental reach with broader targeting increases ROAS and drives new customers. And this is backed up by some recent research by Pace that on the Meta platforms, they found that broad reach-based strategies drove 50% more effective incremental sales growth than conversion-based strategies on those platforms. So share of voice grows market share. Reach and frequency strategies win every single time. Now, I told you I was going to get through that really quickly, but just to recap what we've covered, from a strategic perspective, winning brands focus on gaining new customers. So really understanding that's about growth and not just retention. In the creative, you need to grab attention with positive emotion because that is what will build those long-term memory structures that will help you win new customers. on a long tail basis, not just short term. And then from a media perspective, the more people you talk to, the more your brand grows. And that is about broad reach rather than precise targeting. And finally, we add in the operations end of things because none of this happens unless you have a team that is committed to applying these principles on a day-to-day basis. Because the prevailing winds of the current marketing landscape really are pushing more of a conversion-based, performance-based mindset. So you need to have a team that fully embraces these concepts and it puts them to practice every single day to drive growth. Um, and I think that is where we could go to a little bit of Q&A if somebody wants to put something in the chat. But otherwise, we got through that very, very quickly. We like to keep things pretty tight and gives people as much value as possible in the shortest amount of time. So I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, you can throw them in the chat. And otherwise, please stay in touch. This is going to be the first of a series that we'll do on not only misconceptions in the marketing landscape, but also how to take particular effectiveness principles and put them to work for your particular brand. Again, thank you for joining. I'll hang out for about 30 more seconds. If anybody has any questions, please throw them in the chat and we'll go from there.